Philosophies revived.
Ever wondered what happens when we die? Is it really the end, or just a new beginning? Let's dive into something mind-bending, a theory that might just change the way you see reality forever. Hey there! So today, we're talking about something big. And when I say big, I mean life-altering, reality-bending kind of big. I want to take you on a journey that challenges everything we think we know about life, death, and, well, the entire universe. Sounds intense, right? But don't worry, we're going to keep it simple, fun, and totally mind-blowing. We're diving into the world of biocentrism and the idea that maybe, just maybe, consciousness doesn't just flicker out when we die. In fact, according to this theory, death as we know it might just be a cosmic illusion. Yup, an illusion. Intrigued? Let's get into it. So, let's start with the basics. You've probably heard of quantum physics and how mind-bendingly strange it can be, right? Well, biocentrism builds on some of those same ideas. It's a theory proposed by Dr. Robert Lanza, a scientist who's done some incredible work, from cloning endangered species to stem cell research. But biocentrism isn't about biology in the traditional sense. It's about life and consciousness and how they shape the very fabric of reality. In simple terms, biocentrism says that the universe doesn't just exist on its own, independent of us. Instead, life and consciousness are central to how reality forms. Think of it like this: without someone to observe it, the universe wouldn't exist in the way we experience it. It's a bit like that classic thought experiment. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? According to biocentrism, not only does it not make a sound, the tree might not even exist at all until it's observed. The mind doesn't just perceive reality, it plays a key role in creating it. And that opens up a whole new way of thinking about life, death, and everything in between. Is death even real? Now, let's talk about something that makes most people a little uncomfortable: death. It's the one thing we all have in common, right? Everyone dies. But what if I told you that death, at least the way we understand it, might not be real? Sounds crazy, I know, but stick with me. Biocentrism challenges the idea that death is the absolute end. Think about how we experience time. We tend to think of it as a straight line. We're born, we live, we die. Simple, right? But according to quantum physics, time isn't so straightforward. It's more like a movie reel, where all the scenes already exist. We just experience them one frame at a time. So, what if death is just the end of one frame, but the movie keeps going in a different way? Biocentrism suggests that because our minds create reality, the idea of death is really just a shift in perception. It's not the end of everything, just the end of our experience in this version of reality. It's like stepping out of one room and into another, still existing, just in a different space. Energy doesn't die. This next idea is something you've probably heard before. Even if you're not into physics, energy can't be created or destroyed. It's a basic law of the universe, the law of conservation of energy. So, when you think about it, that raises an interesting question. What happens to the energy that makes up our consciousness when we die? Your thoughts, your memories, your awareness, all of that is energy. When your physical body stops functioning, does that energy just vanish? According to the principles of physics, it can't. Instead, it must transform, change form, and continue to exist in some way. This is where biocentrism and quantum physics get really fascinating. If consciousness is energy, and energy never truly dies, then that suggests that something about us continues on after our bodies are gone. It's kind of like water turning into steam. It's still there, just in a different form. Biocentrism takes this idea and says that consciousness, that who am I, feeling, is part of the fundamental energy of the universe. So, when your body stops working, your consciousness doesn't just disappear. it transitions, perhaps into another state, or even into another universe. Parallel universes, a new beginning? Let's take this mind-bending journey a step further. Have you ever heard of the many worlds theory? It's a well-known idea in quantum physics that says every possible outcome, every decision you make, creates a new universe. So, in one universe, you decided to watch this video, and in another, maybe you didn't. Crazy, right? Now, biocentrism builds on this idea. It suggests that when your body dies in one universe, your consciousness might shift to another where you continue living. Think of it like jumping from one track on a playlist to another. The song in the first track might end, but the music continues on a new track. This isn't just sci-fi fantasy, it's grounded in actual scientific principles. Quantum physics shows us that particles can exist in multiple places at once, behaving in ways that seem impossible in our day-to-day world. If reality itself is that flexible, then maybe death isn't the end. It could just be a shift, a transition from one universe to another, where life continues in ways we can't even imagine. What does this mean for us? Okay, so now that we've dipped our toes into biocentrism and parallel universes, what does all this actually mean for us? You and me, sitting here in this reality right now. Well, it could change the way we see everything. First of all, if consciousness is creating reality, that means we have way more power than we think. We're not just passive players in the universe, watching life happen to us. Instead, we're active participants. The way we see the world, the way we perceive it, actually shapes the world. That's huge. Secondly, it means that death, as scary as it can seem, might not be this big final ending. Instead of seeing it as a full stop, we can start thinking of it as more of a comma, just a pause, before the next sentence in the story. It changes how we approach life. Knowing that consciousness might continue after death, we can live without fear of what comes next. Life becomes less about counting down the days, and more about embracing the infinite possibilities that surround us. The power of consciousness. Now let's dive into something that I find really cool, the idea that consciousness isn't just something that happens in your brain. It's not just a byproduct of neurons firing off electrical signals. According to biocentrism, consciousness is the thing that gives life to the universe. It's like a flashlight in the dark, illuminating the world around you. Imagine walking into a dark room. You can't see anything, but as soon as you turn on a light, the room comes into view. That light? That's your consciousness. It doesn't just reveal reality, it actually helps create it. Without it, the universe remains in darkness. This shifts the way we think about everything, from our day-to-day lives to the very nature of existence. Consciousness isn't just observing reality, it's crafting it, moment by moment. And if that's true, then we have more influence over our lives than we might think. The way we perceive the world literally shapes the world we experience. It's like being both the painter and the painting at the same time, bringing science and spirituality together. So, here's something you might not expect. Biocentrism doesn't just stay in the realm of science. It reaches out and touches spirituality in a profound way. If consciousness shapes reality, then it's possible that everything in the universe is connected. We're not separate from the world around us. We're a part of it, and it's a part of us. This idea isn't new. Many ancient spiritual traditions talk about the interconnectedness of all things, that we're all one, that the universe is alive and conscious. Biocentrism brings a scientific lens to these ideas, offering a framework where science and spirituality aren't in conflict, but are actually in harmony. It's like science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin, each helping us understand the bigger picture. The more we learn about quantum physics and consciousness, the more we realize that the universe is far more mysterious and far more connected than we ever thought. Whether it's through spiritual insight or scientific discovery, the message is the same. We're not alone in this vast cosmos. We're part of a living, conscious universe that's constantly evolving, creating, and unfolding in ways we're only beginning to understand. So, after all this talk about biocentrism, quantum physics, and consciousness, what's the big takeaway? What does this mean for you, sitting here right now? Well, first off, it means that death, as we traditionally think of it, might not be the end. Instead of being something to fear, it's more like the start of a new chapter, a transition from one state of consciousness to another. If consciousness is the thing creating reality, then death isn't the full stop we've been taught to believe in. It's more like turning the page to a new part of the story. Secondly, this changes how we think about life. If consciousness is shaping reality, then we're not just passive observers, we're active participants. The way we see the world, the way we interact with it, actually helps to create it. That's empowering. It means you have the power to shape your reality in ways you might never have imagined. Ultimately, biocentrism challenges us to rethink everything we thought we knew about life, death, and the universe. It's not just a theory, it's an invitation to explore new possibilities and embrace the infinite mystery of existence.